You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 54. I'm Nicholas Prom.
And I'm Jeff Barnhart.
All right, so Jeff, to open today, we got a nice big chunk of Batman comics, some detective comics. I think we'll start with Detective number 433, and the story is The Killer in the Smog, written by Frank Robbins, with art by Dick Dillon and Dick Giordano.
Yeah, smog was a big deal back then in '73. So,
well, yeah.
Common cultural reference.
Sure.
Oh.
Not everyone knows that it's the portmanteau of smoke and fog.
Mm-hmm.
To make that new word. But,
actually, London fog was smog.
Yeah, because it was coal smoke. Yeah.
Oh, we got someone killing these people in the smog-filled Gotham. And they're leaving a yellow ascot, which was interesting.
So the killer is gay. Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Actually, I have a yellow ascot. It's these. What did I get? It's in an army they have ascots. So.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes. Oh, and there's this dumb cipher they use. It is okay. It's a mystery story, as most of them are.
So Batman and Commissioner Gordon are trying to solve these murders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And all the likely suspects have an alibi.
Of course.
Yeah. But I just thought of this. It's really they're doing Strangers on a Train.
Oh, yes.
They're killing each other's target. So they'll have a alibi and they won't get killed for it. So they're going to get arrested for it. Oh, I like the way they tell us what a MO means.
What did they say? Method of operation.
Yeah.
But I always
modus operandi.
Modus operandi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to bring that up. So I'm glad you mentioned it.
And torpedo. I think kids know what a torpedo is.
It's like a missile that's underwater.
Well, it's a gang. As a killer for a gang.
Oh, so, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So I guess it's good that they did put it in there. So.
Okay.
It's not used very much, but I remember reading it long ago.
So Batman is confronting all these people that he believes are suspect in the murders, and they all have airtight alibis.
And he figures it out with this kind of a dumb cipher they use, and
that he kind of cracks this code or something that. But it was a conspiracy of a couple of different people to commit some murders and make it look like a serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they leave these hints so that which I kind of like, although I never get them because I want to read on. But they say, "Can you figure out what happened?" And usually not. Yeah, it is okay. Although I sometimes wonder how Batman survived these years. They're not. Do kids really like this back then? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. Batman gets really slumpy, in lots of periods of his history. It's surprisingly. It's like he's such a cool character that he's able to weather the fact that a lot of his stories are just aren't that interesting. So we have a backup story. It's the Master Crime File of Jason Bard. Now Jason Bard, of course, is Barbara Gordon's boyfriend, and this story is the case of the forged face?
Yeah.
Frank Robbins wrote it, and we've got art by Don Heck and Murphy Anderson. Really like the art.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody's impersonating Jason Bard, trying to set him up, frame him for murder.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's this big clue, and these pictures showing him that Jason is stalking the senator. And or whatever, and Senator Towns, and the big clue is that he changed his hairstyle.
Yeah, they're
he couldn't change his hairstyle. Superman does it all the time.
Well,
I
think they were really recent in his hair. When they're talking to him, as considerably longer or something like that, and so it doesn't quite work.
Nah, not really. That's really kind of close. I mean, just slick back looks like to me.
Well.
Yeah, but it's okay.
So, but yeah, did they catch the killer, or is it like a cliffhanger? Did they catch the real guy?
They caught him.
Yeah, Oh, that's right. And it was really cool because the the real murderer was pretending to be a blind guy, and then his
Mhm.
accomplice was like, somebody like holding him by the arm. But you never do that with a blind person.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, okay,
so
I'll give him that.
so Bard kind of picked up on that and then beat him. So
Mhm.
that's okay. Um, this next issue is I've got some things.
Okay.
It's Detective Comics number 436, and the lead story is The Night Has 1,000 Fears,
Mhm.
written by Frank Robbins again, and with art by Bob Brown and Frank Giacoya.
Yeah. Taken from the Night Has 1,000 Eyes. And I think there's a movie about
Yeah.
that too. The song's great,
Yeah.
but I've not seen the movie.
So it starts out Bruce Wayne. He's just living it up. He's a playboy. He's hanging out with all these chicks on a private plane, and he comes back from wherever he was, and he's immediately hassled by this cop. What's his name? Shotgun.
Steve Shotgun Smith.
And he looks like a homeless person. He wears this hat that's all like, bent up like Leo Gorcey.
Exactly. Or Crazy Guggenheim or something.
Yeah. Or what was
Oh.
that Red Skelton character?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. I can't remember, but yeah, one of those.
Mhm. And he's looking for drugs and he doesn't find it. And so Bruce gets back and Alfred finds drugs. Oh, and he has got this weird powder that makes him afraid of the dark, which is pretty bad if you're Batman.
Yeah.
Oh man,
But it's disappointing is because this is a fear-based story and there's no Scarecrow.
oh, yeah, they could have done that.
Yeah, and it would have been cooler, but maybe there had been a recent enough Scarecrow story that they couldn't, or I don't know. They're like,
But apparently, Shotgun Smith is busting him, and he planted the drugs in there because it's not really Shotgun Smith, it's somebody else.
Yeah,
And trying to blackmail them.
yeah.
But Shotgun Smith carries a shotgun that's illegal. I don't wonder if cops can carry. It's a sawed-off shotgun. It's a pistol shotgun.
Who's gonna bust him? The other cops?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He has a girl. One of the stewardesses that Bruce Wayne was going out with is a bad girl,
Oh,
and she's
smuggling diamonds, I think.
right.
And so this was all a trip to distract the cops and just kind of get on with her own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And her accomplice was the guy posing as Shotgun Smith.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, Batman wins, but you don't know what happened to the girl. She doesn't get captured, or they don't say it. So, oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just okay.
Mm-hmm. The elongated man.
Yeah, that's right. We got a backup story with the elongated man, and the story is Sign of the Two Fingers. It's written by Elliot S. Magan with art by Dick Giordano.
Yeah.
I could speak.
Man, the elongated man is the handsomest of all the superheroes, I think. He's super handsome in this comic.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Until he's elongated, and he's kind of... But he's bringing a dog back for his wife, and he gets knocked out and put into a bottle.
Yeah, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
And the guy that captures him is like trying to... He's kidnapped Sue, and...
He's trying to get elongated man to steal these plans.
Yeah.
From a rival group, and then
we see the elongated man go up a rain spout, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking handsome as ever. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and then he goes in and he steals the guy's guarding his wife. He steals their guns. He figures out his wife gives us clue of 2 fingers.
Oh, that's right, because the bad guy had communicated with the elongated man via a television screen.
Yeah. And she gives the back route, which is a English cursing.
Sure.
Yeah, against the French, because they would cut off their fingers
for shooting arrows. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, she holds up 2 fingers, and Ralph takes that as a sign of, oh, you're going to be at this place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a coincidence.
Yeah, and
because they had to be somewhere at 2 or something like that.
No. She No, he thought he got the wrong clue or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Or so, yeah, it was kind of, but he sneaks up on the guys, the guards, steal their guns and goes around and scares us a booger booger. So,
With his, he stretches his face out and sticks his tongue out real far. It's kind of
that
funny.
would freak me out. So.
Yeah. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't a clue. You're right. She just telling him it was 2 o'clock, and he thought it was just some kind of clue. So,
yeah.
so she just chooses to ignore that.
Yeah, not tell him, because he thinks, well, and he is a good, real good detective.
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't want to bruise his ego. I mean, because he's
Right.
all about, he wants to be, he enjoys the fame. He doesn't keep a secret identity. Everybody knows Ralph Dibny is the elongated man. So that's kind of part of his shtick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's not necessarily a glory hound. He's not like Booster Gold.
Mm.
So I don't know. So next we have Detective Comics number 450. And the lead story is The Cape and Cowl Death Trap. Written by Elliot S. Maggin with art by Walt Simonson.
This is brilliantly done. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous comic, and it's,
Do you really like the art in this story?
yeah. It
I like the way.
reminded me.
Oh, go ahead.
It reminded me of early 20th century comic strips, which was the golden age of comic strips.
Sure.
And it's absolutely beautiful. And maybe this is one of the reasons Batman stuck around. And occasionally there's a diamond among all the cubic zirconiums.
Yeah. It's funny. This is a really early in Walt Simonson's career, and this art at this time is almost unrecognizable to the style that he developed later. I'm not a fan of his art. I like the way he's drawing Batman in these stories, but everything else to me, I'm like, in this particular issue. But years later, he would go on to do incredible stuff on Thor and Fantastic Four, and I think a revival of the New Gods. He's a pretty big deal. But
yeah, it's interesting. In comics of all the arts have different people making a vision of the story that is totally different from each other, and the same thing. We don't
right, and it's somebody else's creation most of the time.
There's movie remakes, and people do remakes of paintings, but nothing like comic books where there's 5 artists working on one character.
Yeah,
in different books or series.
Yeah,
and it's interesting. There's nothing else like that.
It's a unique medium. You won't see you wouldn't see 3 different Batman animated series on and being produced new at the same time, for example.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good point. But yeah, this story, somebody wants to get Batman's cape and cowl. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And some world-class assassin is hired to get it or something like that.
So he lures Batman to this wax museum, which is a perfect place for
a comic book to take place.
Or for Batman, I think.
Yeah.
And he's going to melt the wax and drown him. So, unless he gives up his cape and cowl.
Right.
And it turns out that it was all a fake. Batman was the
guy who hired the
was
killer.
Hired.
He just wanted to capture the guy, or to gain his confidence enough so he would confess to this murder that he had committed,
right?
So that he could bring him in, which is pretty clever.
Yeah, and I was actually shocked about it.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a well-written story.
Yeah,
nicely
drawn, and I don't know, I liked it.
Well, yeah, and I like stories that you think it's about this one thing, and then in the last act you're like, oh, it was all kind of a setup, and it's typical of DC.
Yeah, unless it's done stupidly, which is, it can be done badly.
Well, yeah, I mean, but think of how many Superman stories we've read, Silver Age Superman stories that do that thing.
Yeah, I know, but
like the one where Superman had the red kryptonite made him grow eyes in the back of his head.
Right.
So there's a backup story. It's a Robin solo story. It's The Parking Lot Bandit, written by Bob Rozakis and art by Al Milgrom and Terry Austin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a parking lot bandit. And
Dick is away at college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with a girlfriend. And and this money is ripped off from the university, and they think it's a parking lot bandit, but it's not. They don't know who it is, but to me, it's obvious that it's the university treasurer who did it
Yeah,
because he's wearing the same shirt.
yeah, but he's trying to pass it off on some long-haired hippie.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's okay.
yeah. I mean, Robin sees through it and
Mhm.
kicks his butt, and he goes to
Dick
jail.
does not see through it yet.
That's right.
He
There's-
doesn't know.
Oh, right, but
It's
we
in-
know. That's right. There's another part to
I mean,
this.
no, we're not told, but I just figured it out.
Well,
Using
yeah.
my super detective powers.
Well, it's shown. I saw it.
Yeah. Well, it shows the guy, but it doesn't.
It's not. It's almost given away. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, you're able to
almost,
piece
yeah.
it together.
Mhm, right.
So, well, yeah, pretty good, and it's a cliffhanger, but
Yeah.
you know, we've got Detective Comics number 455, and the lead story is Heart of a Vampire. Elliot S. Magan wrote this, and with art by Mike Grell.
A vampire named DeCrovo.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne.
Wayne.
Bruce Wayne and Robin, they break down in front of some house, some haunted house or whatever.
No, it's not right. It's Alfred.
Oh, it's Alfred?
Mm-hmm. And and then
There's a
they
vampire
see-
there.
yeah. Oh no, there's a sun lamp on this coffin, and they turn it off, and then the vampire comes out.
Yeah.
Because the solar lamp will keep the vampire in,
Right.
which is interesting.
Yeah. But Batman can't kill this vampire because he was a scientist or something who had, pioneered transplants.
And he got caught by vampires because he was grave robbing to get cadavers, and
Right.
he opened the wrong casket.
That's right, which is cool. So he became a vampire, but he transplanted his heart into somewhere else, and so Batman can't put a stake through his heart,
Mhm.
so he's got to figure out where the heart is.
Yeah.
And I'll let you go.
Oh, so he has to. Well, if I fight him a lot, his heart will beat harder and louder, so they'll find out where it is. So
Yeah.
he's fighting him, and getting his butt kicked, really. And then
Oh yeah,
he hears a clock.
clunk, clunk.
Clunk, clunk. Yeah, so it's a clock. So he destroys the clock.
With an arrow. So he shoots an arrow into the clock. I mean, you transplant your heart into a clock? I thought it was really dumb.
Yeah, or maybe it's his grandfather's clock.
Oh.
It's just, yeah. I'm not sure. It's comic books, but I don't know if I like mythical creatures and Batman. I don't know. Sort of. He's always so serious.
There used to be, Denny O'Neill's had a thing like, look, we're not going to have supernatural stuff. We're not going to have Batman going to outer space,
Mm-hmm.
But this is, I think, after Denny was doing other things at this time, and we're like, well, let's have a vampire story. And I think we've got an issue for next week or in the next coming couple weeks that's got a werewolf. So brace yourself. But
it's not bad though.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, I like Mike Grell's art. That really saves it.
Mm-hmm.
DC was doing some really cool supernatural comics at the time. They were doing Swamp Thing, which is kind of a science fiction horror thing.
Right.
And they also had, House of Mystery and House of Secrets. And those are cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's incorporated into superhero books, I'm like, it can work.
Yeah. Looks like either that's a Rolls Royce or a Lincoln Continental. I'm not sure what Alfred is driving.
Yeah, well, Batman's or Bruce has got plenty of cars, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we've got a backup story with Hawkman.
Yeah, and Hawk Girl. I'm not sure I've ever read a Hawkman story.
Yeah. I remember we read that Hawk Girl story in DC Comics Presents with Superman.
Oh, yes.
So this is, it's Battle of the Backfiring Weapons, written by E. Nelson Bridwell and art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Yeah, this criminal, Chester McCann, is a bad criminal, but once he gets chased, he cannot be caught.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So he decides to go steal something that's impossible to get away with, and then he'll get away with it.
Right.
So, actually not a bad plan.
No, it's pretty cool. He goes right into, a jewelry store or something in the broad daylight, breaks the case, and guards are like, hey, we got guns.
Yeah.
But he totally gets away.
Oh, yeah.
And then Hawkman and Hawkgirl go after him.
Yeah, and they defeat, but he can like pull his ears out so he can use his ears like radar because he's blinded by the Hulk girl.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, kind of goofy.
Yeah, she used a shield that like to reflect some light on him or something.
And then they use a bull roar,
yeah,
which would makes a huge nasty sound.
and it was hurt his ears then.
Hmm So he gets knocked out. But they find out that it's this guy from the 47th century who needs help. And forgot what he needed help for. Because he's his ancestor.
Right.
So
and if this guy didn't get caught and then reformed in prison, he would never meet a certain person and then carry on the genes or whatever.
Right. So
It's the family line.
Yeah. I see that women's fashions have improved in the 47th century.
Yes, they have. But yeah, kind of a weird story.
Yeah.
And a Hawkman, I like him, but it's like, do you ever fight anybody that's not just stealing jewels? It seems like a lot of the Hawkman stories I've read, it's somebody stealing jewelry, or just stealing something. No power mad conspirators or anything like that. It's always jewelry.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure it's not.
Have the same cachet now.
Who wants to steal jewels now? Really? How do you?
Well, when you find out that diamonds are just I think that like every year they get a boxcar full of diamonds out of South Africa, and they only use about a shoebox full of them or something like that. It's just like and they just rest is just kept away.
That's really bizarre.
Yeah, but the thing is, it keeps the prices high.
Oh, right, okay. So it's an artificially inflated value.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
just carbon.
Well, yeah.
And I got suckered into it. I spent a lot of money on engagement rings.
Well, sure.
So
I will someday too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, our next issue we've got is Detective Comics number 461.
Mm-hmm.
The lead story is Bruce Wayne, Bait in a Bat Trap. Written by Bob Rozakis and Michael Uslan. Art by Ernie Chan and Frank McLaughlin.
Yeah,
I don't remember the story at all. So.
Yeah, I wish I. It's complicated, and they're trying to grab Bruce Wayne. Of course, Bruce Wayne is Batman, so they didn't get him. But it turns out that there are these three brothers who played Batman, and
right.
Good gosh, and Batman's trying to find them, and he gets attacked by rats and water.
That's actually really cool. And then there's this villain. He's like a pirate.
Mm-hmm. Stingery.
Yeah, Captain Stingery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a bad name. And they fight, and he captures Batman, and Batman turns out to be a Courtney. And there's three of them.
Yeah, they're the Courtney brothers. So we're reading an issue about Batman, and it wasn't even Batman.
Right. Yeah. And Stingery is dressed like a pirate.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's on a cliffhanger, and yeah, Bruce Wayne was not Batman at all in this issue. Now that I think about it,
Right.
It didn't even occur to me
Mm-hmm.
until the end. But we've got a backup story with Tim Trench, private investigator, and the story is The Moneybag Caper. It's written by Denny O'Neil, with art by Pablo Marcos and Al Milgrom.
Oh, I had fun with this because it's so stupid.
Yeah, me too.
It's definitely a Dirty Harry ripoff because he's got not one 44 Magnum, but two.
Of course.
And he shoots them at the same time.
He would be falling over. Maybe.
It'd be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's I fired a 44 Magnum. I don't take it lightly. And don't do it in the winter time, man. That stings.
Yeah.
But he goes to the Rialto Theater.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a name that I don't know, is that an Italian name for a theater or what, but it's all over the place. We had a Rialto in Raleigh. And I thought,
there's also the Bijou. That was, a lot of theaters are named the Rialto or the Bijou.
I was surprised when I saw it. Yeah, but they're showing Marx Brothers Duck Soup, which is kind of cool.
I love that movie. And I think Tim Trench keeps his office in that same building.
Right. And that's kind of... he goes to this punk comes in and wants him to come to his boss, and he beats up the punk, which is okay.
Yeah.
So he goes to the boss, and the boss is running for his life. So he gets all his money, puts it in the bag.
He's a crime boss. By the way. Yeah.
All right.
And it's like a
are
bag
there
with
any
the
other
dollar
kind of-
signs on it.
I know. It's sort of, yeah, brilliant. Could they not put a valise bag or a
Yeah.
doctor's bag and put some cash coming up? We get the idea, but the idea of having a dollar sign on a bag, who does that? Has
Scrooge
that ever
McDuck,
been,
you know?
has it ever been done? I don't.
I don't know either. I don't know the answer to that, but it is
Ah.
kind of ridiculous, and I that was glaring to me when I was reading this.
hmm
But
Yeah, he's friends with this blind guy with a dog, and but they're walking next, and they meet the blind guy again, and the
That-
mob boss is killed almost instantly. So,
so Tim Trench was hired to be the bodyguard to get this guy out of the
not
country.
a very good bodyguard.
Nope.
But the original punk who got Tim Trench was he was
Was it a double cross?
he was a double crosser.
Yeah.
But then, so Tim Trench takes his 244 Magnums and destroys a car.
Yeah, crashes into a light pole. Pretty
Mhm.
sure the bad guys all died or whatever,
Yeah,
or goes to jail.
Mhm.
And the blind guy's dog takes the sack of money.
right. But how the blind guy gonna know it's money?
Well, I don't know. He'll feel it,
Yeah,
like with his hands.
yeah.
But yeah, Tim Trench was like, "Oh, I couldn't take the money for this anyway because I didn't do the job I was hired for." But blah blah.
Yeah,
I would have.
24 Magnum shells are expensive. They
Well, yeah, Magnum PI probably would have taken the money, or
Mhm.
Rockford. So
Okay, this one should have been read last time.
it's okay. We
But I
ran.
thought I had read it, and I was right. I read it 30 years ago.
Oh!
I read it when it came out, and wow.
Was it kind of a surreal experience
Yes,
doing that?
indeed.
So let's talk about it. This is Fantastic Four, number 175, and the story is When Giants Walk the Sky. It's written by Roy Thomas, art by John Buscema. So this is a classic.
Is indeed. High Evolutionary is this guy who's trying to protect Earth 2.
Or Counter Earth.
Counter Earth.
It's a duplicate of Earth on the other side of the sun, and he's cloned everybody or evolved animals into people, and that's what's up with Counter Earth.
Yeah, so he is fighting Galactus, who wants to suck it.
To
up.
consume
Yeah.
Counter Earth, yeah.
Oh, and they both talk like each other, which I love that highfalutin.
You know, I am a god, but
Yeah.
you are also, and
Mhm.
yeah. So they're having a big, pissing match, you know.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's great. And they fight.
And they're gigantic, flying
Mhm.
over the skies of New York in Counter Earth.
Right.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and the High Evolutionary has a handhold on the top of his head.
Yeah, I noticed that. That it looks like a bar
Mhm.
for his helmet, but he's a really cool character,
Yeah.
though.
Apparently, the last issue, they were searching for planets for
Galactus to
Galactus.
consume.
I couldn't. Yeah, I was going to call him Magneto, but no, it's Galactus.
Who is the herald of Galactus at this time?
I do not know. I don't think there may not be one.
He usually has one.
Maybe
It
you
might
just
be
don't see
Terrax at this time. I'm not sure. He's either that or coming real soon.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But they're all the Fantastic Four look for planets for Galactus to consume, and they don't find one.
oh, that's right. They were hoping for one that we didn't have life, and so he's like,
That
"Well, I'm
had-
just gonna."
Yeah, that had some kind of life.
Well, they didn't have sentient life,
Right.
Because they're heroes. They want to preserve life.
hmm
Galactus doesn't care, but he's like, "All right, I'll go along with it this time." But he said, if you don't, I'm going to consume Counter Earth. Galactus and the High Evolutionary have a fight, and it's pretty spectacular.
And yeah, Galactus wins, but not by much.
Yeah.
Oh, Gore, the ape, comes back.
Oh yeah, he's an ape evolved into intelligence by the High Evolutionary.
hmm And so the Fantastic Four minus Sue attack Galactus, and I guess the ape helps too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they knock him over, but it's kind of silly because he can flop.
Yeah. So he can alter gravity, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Important point: the Thing is wearing his exoskeleton, so he is really Ben Grimm
In a suit, that's right.
And Galactus looks at him and zaps him, but really doesn't do
Doesn't
that
hurt
much
him or
damage
whatever.
yet.
Yeah, and we figure out what's up with that. So the Fantastic Four, what are they? They managed to thwart Galactus.
Yeah, and they're fighting him, and then Sue comes back and says, "Hey, I found a planet for you," and they want to be eaten. So.
Oh,
And-
that's
But-
right,
but
because
Sue is not Sue. It's the Impossible Man.
oh, that's right.
And
Oh, that's right. Then Galactus eats the Impossible Man's planet.
yeah, and they don't mind because everybody is Impossible Man. So Impossible Man can make a million copies of himself,
Yeah.
and the same person. So
And he was bored with that planet, so whatever. He's just going to come to Earth now. So
that's still disquieting, though.
what?
I find that disquieting. And there's still people, and it's because they don't
Well,
feel
but it
pain.
was all the one link consciousness, and they were bored,
Yeah,
and they had done everything.
yeah, I understand, but I am disquieted by it.
Okay,
Okay, that's
it was weird, and the reveal made sense. I was like, why is this people going to just lay down and die for Galactus? I'm like, oh, that's why. So Galactus goes and eats the Impossible Man's planet.
and gets really bad case of heartburn.
Yeah, because the
They
shape-changing abilities of them.
And they don't. There's no conscious there. And there's no conscious. He doesn't get any food,
Oh, okay.
so he's turned into a
He shrinks down into this like mass of something.
pure inorganic energy.
Yeah, and he'll snap
Right.
out of it later.
Mhm.
But couple things that happen here. One, we get the Impossible Man returning and being a part of the Fantastic Four stories. The High Evolutionary is happy. Counter Earth is saved, and Ben has been turned back into the Thing by Galactus. That's what he
Yeah.
did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the infinite sadness of the Thing.
Yeah.
That really hit me. Let's see. Also, Sue really looks good. She's always been attractive, but she looks beautiful now.
Well, I always liked the way John Buscema drew women. He did like the classic Conan stuff, and I love the way he would draw Belit or Red Sonja. Just he knew how to draw gorgeous gals. So
yeah.
draw,
Oh.
drew.
Mhm. But this really, I read it when it came out in 1975, 76.
Yeah.
And it struck me then. Bam.
Yeah.
It's really well done. And I just like I like the Thing, and that he can become a human. And that, just so they don't do that too much, but they
Yeah.
really jerk the rug out of them there.
Well, and they've got to have things happen because it's like if you have the same four people most of the time, you've got to have something that's causing drama or emotional, anguish or something to keep it interesting.
Mhm.
So, but moving on along, it's 2 issues later is Fantastic Four number 177. It's Look Out for the Frightful Four, written by Roy Thomas, with art by George Perez and Joe Sinnott.
I thought I would dislike Impossible Man. I was kind of somewhat irritated by him, or I thought I might be irritated by him, but now I kind of like him.
Yeah,
And
he just wants to have fun all the time.
Yeah. He reminds me, there's this book called, and an awful movie made from it, Martian Go Home, where these Martians, little green men, you know what I'm talking about?
I think I've heard of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie's awful, but the little green men come by and they annoy the devil out of everybody. If you're trying to make out with your girlfriend, they're there making nasty comments. They're constantly cracking wise, and it's driving people crazy. And it's a great idea. And, the book is good. Movie, not so good.
Well, here's the thing. The Impossible Man is totally like that. It's just having fun, and yes, he annoys people a lot.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I'm surprised that you weren't initially drawn to him, because he's like Mixius Pitalik for the Marvel Universe.
Well, that's kind of why I didn't like him, because I don't like obvious copies. But their copies
they do a
seem
different thing with him. Though.
Yeah. So I learned to like him. So hey, I was wrong. It
Hey,
happens.
it does. Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Fantastic Four return home to the Baxter Building, and they find the Frightful Four lying in wait for them.
Mhm.
But it's really the Frightful Three, because
Yeah.
it's just the Sandman, the Wizard, and the Trapster.
Mm-hmm. And they're trying to get a frightful fourth.
That's right. And now, obviously we know Medusa had been with them before
Mm-hmm.
and bailed once she got her memory back.
Thundar.
Then, yeah, Thundra, yeah.
Thundra. Sorry.
Thundra. No, it's okay. You're thinking Thundar the Barbarian.
Mhm.
That was a fun show.
Yeah, it was.
All the animation designs are by Jack Kirby for that show.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm not. Would I kid you?
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. So,
Oh, I like the Frightful Four. Or
Yeah.
three.
And
They're
they managed to
wonderful
cap-
villains.
yeah, they managed to capture the Fantastic Four.
Mhm.
I think the Impossible Man's just going to go watch cartoons. He doesn't get that there's something going on. And then they hold, auditions, public auditions for a fourth member.
Which is, how do they get villains together?
It's a good point. Usually it's like they're in stir together and, then they meet in prison or something.
There is a I read one comic book. I don't know what it is, but it was where minions come from. There's a minion college or something.
Really?
And then they train minions.
Oh, interesting.
And someone says, "Well, I wonder where they all came from." So,
Yeah.
oh well, and I love the applicants. I wish it's gone about 3 issues of applicants because there is the Osprey, who just a guy who wants to be given superpowers.
He creates a costume with wings. He's just kind of an old guy, and he doesn't. So Wizard gets mad and puts an anti-gravity disc on him and sends him out the window.
Yeah.
And then the Texas Twister shows up, and he's actually powerful and kind of cool.
But
He's
he wants a minimum wage.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, but yeah, kind of goofy. But
yeah.
it's.
And
I wonder if we ever see him again.
I've seen him in something else, so
Mhm.
yeah. Let's see.
And Thundra comes by.
And fights the Sandman, and
Mhm.
I think they managed to subdue her, but just barely.
Yeah, I like Thundra.
Yeah, she's real cool, the Femissance. And then, Captain Ultra, this guy with his, rainbow costume. He's got kind of Superman-ish powers. He's got that kind of array of superpowers. But he's vulnerable to fire. Fire will, he'll pass out. He
And he
can't.
looks at a match.
Yeah, so they can't... You're not going to fight the Fantastic Four with this guy. But this guy, he's a good guy. He tried to join the Defenders at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tigra shows up.
Yeah.
Um,
And she's fooling people.
yeah.
All right, here's something really...
An advertisement? Okay.
An advertisement for O.J. Simpson's tennis shoes. Juice mobiles. Yikes.
Yeah.
But actually, at one time, only 2 sports people, and I was fans of
Okay.
O.J. Simpson because he was in the Naked Gun movies.
Okay.
And
Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
no,
Dr. J.
Yogi Berra because he was funny.
Oh,
And that's the only ones I like. Muhammad Ali has, but those are 2 of my favorites.
well, that's cool.
Yeah. So now, O.J. Simpson as a murderer.
Yeah, the juice is
Yes.
loose has kind of a different
Yeah.
connotation now.
Mhm. Hang loose, it's the juice. Oh, but that's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay, back to our story.
yes.
Tigra is actually working for the Fantastic Four, and she frees them all, right? I think.
Yeah,
And but gets her butt kicked too.
yeah. But they send the Frightful Four packing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
But-
this other guy, the final applicant, the Brute, shows up, and he's really powerful.
And he looks really cool.
Yeah, he's super strong, and he's really intelligent, too. Oh, it turns out he's an evil version of Reed from an alternate dimension, and he wants to send the Fantastic Four into the negative zone.
Right.
And
No, that's not very nice.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
man. But
yeah.
Great episode.
Yeah.
Or great story.
Yeah.
Um,
Jump forward a couple issues later, it's kind of the resolution of that.
yeah. Aftermath, the Eliminator.
Yeah, hang on. That is issue number... Fantastic Four number 184, and yes, it's Aftermath, the Eliminator. Written by Len Wein, with art by George Perez and Joe Sinnott. Love George Perez. His stuff in the 70s is real nice, but it's not quite the style that he developed when he became a really big deal in the 80s over at DC.
Yeah. Well, this is the golden age of Fantastic Four.
This is? Why?
I'm wondering because this is I like this series and this time that it's really really good. And the
Yeah.
earlier, I mean the very beginning was okay, but it's more sophisticated and interesting.
I mean,
I'm not sure.
We'll be revisiting more of the Lee and Kirby Fantastic Four in a few months down the line. But yeah, the 70s stuff, people are like, yeah, it's good and it's a good period. There's definitely some low points, but like that, it seems like all of the '60s Fantastic Four is just gold. So I would disagree, but I like this too.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it better, but okay. I don't know. It's just not sure. Maybe it's because this is the Fantastic Four of my youth.
Well, yeah, you always love the stories that you were reading when you were a kid.
Right.
So was that the case with this one, or?
I did not read. No, that's the only one I read. But
okay.
That we have read here. Oh,
So yeah, the Fantastic Four, they get back to the negative zone. They've beaten the Brute and the Frightful Four. The Baxter Building is a mess, and everybody's trying to get out of doing it.
Yeah.
Thundra and Tigra. Tigra takes a shine to the Thing.
Mm-hmm.
A side effect of her superpowers, and it's kind of revealed later. She would join the West Coast Avengers. Side effect of her cat powers is like she's kind of a nympho.
Oh.
And so that kind of caused some problems when she was with the Avengers. Because she was kind of like stirring up trouble with Hawkeye and Hank Pym and stuff. But anyway,
Nice.
But yeah. But again,
yeah, and Thunder is ticked off.
Thunder's always ticked off.
Yeah, about the competition.
Right.
There's a great scene of
Johnny just flying over the sky.
Yeah, and it's really cool. It's like, what's he flying? Oh, it's the city.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
It's a really interesting angle.
Mm-hmm. And he's zapped.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's Zach.
Yeah, somebody gets him, and somebody one by one is getting the Fantastic Four. I love it. There's a big mess, and Ben just starts to smash it all and stick it under the floor.
Right. Yeah, everybody wants to save the world, but nobody wants to help mom the dishes.
Yeah.
No one's helping, and it's just really funny. I don't know, but yeah, that's all he does. Although, what about the floors below?
Yeah, it's true.
And he slams it down, and everyone thinks they're under attack.
Right. Well, they kind of are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they've stolen young Franklin.
Yeah.
And they've gone to Whisper Hill.
That's where Agatha Harkness, who was Franklin's governess, lived.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this guy, the Eliminator. I'll just pick up. Yeah, this guy, the Eliminator, has been sent by some unknown force. I can't remember. And he's got to erase all these beings, the Fantastic Four. Why? It had something to do with Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, everyone who knew Agatha Harkness has to die. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like this doesn't go after the Avengers. So he's not very thorough. But he looks like a weird red cyborg, and one of his hands is like a blastery thing.
Like an evil version of Iron Man, kind of.
Yeah. He kind of
Very
looks like the
good.
Crimson Dynamo, only with like a brain exposed, kind of, or obviously scarred up flesh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he gives the Fantastic Four a good fight.
Indeed. Yeah, Sue is a lot better now. She's
more self-empowered,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they're trying to make Sue less, oh, Reed, well, more an active and vital member of the Fantastic Four.
Right.
I mean, technically, she is the most powerful.
Really?
Once she developed the force fields and able to do stuff with them rather than just turning invisible,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like she can almost do things like the Green Lantern, make, a little more rudimentary than that, but force projectiles or whatever of invisible stuff.
Right.
And there's a lot that she can do with her power. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they pull a trick on the Eliminator.
Mm-hmm. They play possum.
Yeah, he lets them, or they let him think they've killed him, but Sue has protected them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens after that?
He self-destructs, and he said, I will just self-destruct in 15 seconds, and then says, I fooled you, then run.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, Twinkie Alert, we got Spider-Woman again.
Spider-Man and Madam Web.
Madam Web.
But it's not the Madam Web from the comics, the blind lady who's clairvoyant. It's just some other Madam Web.
Yeah. So, but it ends on a cliffhanger because they don't know where Franklin is.
Right. And that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this next issue that we have, and I don't know, we may end up just glossing over it. It's Fantastic Four number 190, and the story is The Way It Was. It's written by Marv Wolfman with art by Sal Buscema and Tony DeZuniga. But this is an album issue. It's kind of a stopgap, just all flashback issue.
Yeah, they explain a couple of interesting things.
The Fantastic Four have broken up again.
Yeah, oh, yeah. But they explain why the Thing looks different from when they began. Because he looked kind of more...
Dinosaur hide looking, yeah. And...
the cosmic rays made him look rockier. So.
Yeah.
I forgot that Reed called himself Mr. Fantastic. Bad name.
Yeah, and it's a weird name that you would just choose for yourself, especially considering who Reed is and how we think of Reed and how we know him. It's like, it seems kind of grandiose choice for you.
I mean, Mr. Sir Thanks a Lot or something.
Yeah, but I mean, like, well, what else are you going to call him? Dr. Rubber Band? I mean, like, you know, do you remember how ridiculous that would be?
Oh, I would like the rubber ball.
You know, Mr. Fantastic. I mean, you think he'd be Professor something or Professor Stretcho. Well, I mean, Ben calls him Stretcho half the time anyway.
Yeah, right. But you never see him called Mr. Fantastic.
Not too much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I'm going to call myself Mr. Awesome or something.
Yeah, but then he's the leader, and he's the leader of the Fantastic Four. It works on several levels there.
Right. I don't know. I enjoyed this. Going back, and I read some of the stories in it, and
it recounts from Ben's perspective the history, a truncated version of the Fantastic Four's history.
Yeah. Great Twinkie alert. The best one ever.
The best Twinkie alert ever.
Is Space Hillbillies.
That's right.
Man,
it's
awesome.
Thor in the Ding-a-Ling family. And it's Thor fighting these hillbillies in space on like a Viking ship or something, a longboat.
Oh, man.
I think Lady Sif is in the story too with him. Isn't that her right there? Serving up Twinkies to hillbillies?
Oh, lo, how the mighty have fallen.
Oh, man.
But they beat up Thor. Cracky, that pretty yellow-haired feller's the leader. Let's hornswoggle him. The rest will be a piece of cake.
What do they do, ply him with moonshine? I don't really know what...
beat him up, it looks like. He can't fight with his hammer for some
reason. They dogpile on him, but... He overcomes them with the power of Twinkies. Or Lady Sif comes in and rescues him.
Yeah.
It's to a standstill.
Thor does not eat Twinkies.
All right, of course. The son of Odin does not eat Twinkies.
I don't know. Something goofy like that would make an interesting issue.
Of a real comic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but one thing back to our regular story is Franklin, they broke up because Sue is furious because Reed had to like shut down Franklin's brain because his powers were just going nuts. Because he has like reality altering powers. Like, it's ridiculous.
Right. And he's going to destroy the world. So.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting question. You know, it's a hard choice.
Yeah.
What does Sue want him to do?
Yeah. And you have to go back and think about Franklin, because when Sue was pregnant with him, because of the cosmic rays that gave them that powers, there was complications with the pregnancy. Like, he wouldn't have made it. The rest of the Fantastic Four had to go to the negative zone and steal Annihilus's cosmic control rod, because some part of it would allow them to, have a safe, okay birth. A similar thing happened when Sue was pregnant for the second time, and then they didn't make it, and the baby died.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
Yeah, I think I read the one where they ended Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Oh, at the very end, Thing gets mad at his diary, which he's been reading, and crushes it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. So.
And that's a great. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah. So obviously the Fantastic Four didn't break up, because we've got Fantastic Four number 198, and the story is Invasion, written by Marv Wolfman, with art by Keith Pollard and Joe Sinnott. And the Fantastic Four are invading Latveria.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love Doctor Doom.
Me too.
You notice Fantastic Four, FF.
Yeah.
Doctor Doom, DD. Frightful Four, FF. A lot of...
It's like Superman with all the LLs.
That's interesting. I love Doctor Doom, and he has... I had not heard this before, but there is an underground, which...
Like an underground that are rebelling against Doctor Doom. And they were part of the original royal family I forget the family name, but that Doctor Doom had overthrown.
Hmm. And Doom has a son.
Which I have a feeling. First of all, no, he doesn't.
Oh.
Who this is? I think this is a clone of Doctor Doom. That
Oh,
he wants to
probably.
imbue with the powers of the Fantastic Four because he captures them, and that's what he's trying to do. I think his plan is he's captured the Fantastic Four, take all their powers and give it to the clone, and then transfer his consciousness into the clone.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But
Because that way he doesn't have to risk, like, if it's not going to work, he's not going to die in the transference of power. See,
man, Doctor Doom is cold.
he is
Yeah.
diabolical.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing that he can still remain in power. Killing your minions when they make a mistake seems to be a bad thing to do.
The thing is, you have to be ruthless if you're a supervillain. Because if you're soft on your henchmen, then they think that if there's a way that they could, steal some of your weapons and, or take advantage of your power, you have to be like, no, if we mess with the master, whoever supervillain is, we're toast. He wants to have total loyalty and total subservience, and and you better not screw up. So it's like if you were just working for somebody that was like that, it wouldn't be worth working for it. But in the case of a supervillain, it makes sense. That kind of logic makes a lot of sense. But yeah, he does treat his henchmen really
It'd be
poorly.
interesting if one of the supervillains was like the Godfather in the book, where he usually uses reason. It's better for you to help me out here than not, and usually never uses a threat unless he has to.
Yeah,
And that'd be an interesting villain. And
Kingpin's sort of like
that's one
that.
of the reasons I like Kingpin, because he's more intelligent about making.
Yeah, when I think of the Kingpin, I try to think Brando.
Hmm.
So.
He would have been a good one if he wasn't crazy.
Well, yeah, and especially at the end of his life, he was kind of a big fellow.
Yep.
Like remember when he did The Island of Dr. Moreau?
Yeah.
If you just took him at that point, and if they'd made the Daredevil movie,
Yeah.
it might have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
But
So the leader of the underground is named Zorba.
yeah,
Zorba the Greek was a popular movie back then.
Right.
There's a lot of Heinrichs working for Doctor Doom. Heinrich,
Yeah.
I don't hear anything.
and then there's that scientist Hauptmann too.
Which means captain in German.
Is it?
Hmm.
Remember Hauptmann, the villain on the Rat Patrol?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dietrich Hauptmann.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
great villain.
Yeah, he was.
'Cause
he was an adversary.
He was, yes,
Yeah.
in your definition of it, because he wasn't totally evil. Yeah, he was a Nazi, but he was a military guy.
Hmm. Yeah.
He had probably served, the character had probably served in World War I. It was like this was about country, not
Right.
ideology for him. But
Oh, didn't stop him getting his butt kicked all the time.
Yeah.
Patrol. Oh,
he didn't get killed either.
Yeah.
But God, that was a great show. But okay, so Doctor Doom has got the Fantastic Four on the ropes.
Hmm. And Reed comes in, sneaks in, gets on with the underground, and gets his butt kicked too.
Yeah, and it's so the next issue. It's like leading into this whole the Son of Doctor Doom thing,
Hmm.
which I think I mentioned how it probably plays out.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the next issue is FF number 203, And a Child Shall Slay Them, written by Marv Wolfman, art again by Keith Pollard and Joe Sinnott.
I wonder if all the cartoon artists took lessons from Jack Kirby on how to draw machinery, because it all kind of looks.
Well, that's definitely the Marvel style. The template, especially the Fantastic Four, I mean, it was like 102 issues straight, all Jack Kirby art.
Right.
So that, I mean, it's just like you're going to work on the Fantastic Four or anything, like that's what you look at. And so, yeah, we see Kirby dots and things and Kirby machinery.
Which makes it a delight to see.
Well, yeah, it's they're carrying on. They didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
They never make any sense.
But they're great. They're just these huge machines, and you have no idea what they do, but they're awesome.
We learned that the fascinating fact that the thing goes bowling, which is
Oh, yeah.
isn't that kind of cheating? Because he can just uses.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe he has to like go softly with it, so it's
Yeah.
different, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, he could just throw it down there and shatter the pins, but probably wouldn't get asked, or he wouldn't be allowed back at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
So there's a kid with like psychic powers or something.
Because his father was hit by cosmic ray bomb in an experiment.
Yeah.
And the kid starts having these hallucinations that become real. It's kind of like a Frightful Four or the Fantastic Four.
He creates these evil doppelgangers of the Fantastic Four, and they go on a rampage, and the real Fantastic Four have to fight him.
And they get their butts kicked because they're stronger than
Right,
the evil guys are.
And the battle goes on and on through most of the issue until they realize, wait, let's not fight our own duplicates, but each other's, and they've managed to find weaknesses and beat them. And these doppelgangers were created by the kids. He's sick, and his mind created them, but also he needed to expel this the cosmic ray energy, or he was going to die.
Yeah.
So they managed to defeat them or expend the energy, and so the bad guys disappear.
Reed gets a rad absorber.
Oh, radiation absorber. That's right. That's it.
Okay. Radi absorber, something like that. Yeah.
Radi absorber, so it's absorbing radiation. So,
hey, not a bad issue. Not bad.
Yeah. And what at the end, Reed gives the parents of the kid a business card for Professor Charles Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters.
Why would he do that?
I don't know. Maybe because it's I don't know.
It's in Newton.
It's connected.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's pretty cool. I thought it was great.
Yeah. This next issue we've got, it's our last Fantastic Four for the episode. It's number 206. It's The Death of the Fantastic Four, written by Marv Wolfman, art again by Keith Pollard and Joe Sinnott.
Yeah, we see the Skrulls.
The Skrulls, yeah.
Skrulls. Oh.
It's okay. It's
I'm
okay.
not doing well with names today.
Yeah, they've captured the Fantastic Four, and they're putting them on trial, a mock trial,
I like
really.
The politics, the court politics, and the judge is really hates him, but then the high executioner hates the judge, and the emperor hates everybody, and his wife hates him, and he hates her back, and
so there's a lot of intrigues going on in the Skrull community
cool.
here.
Yeah, I love the shackles.
It's pretty cool because it's to dampen their powers
so
and stuff too.
I guess somebody threw a brick at him or something.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was something like, oh, that's a secret weapon or something to plot device.
No, the crowd is just throwing things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not very nice.
Yeah, the Skrulls are pretty nasty.
Yeah, so they apparently execute them, but they don't.
Okay.
Oh, Fruit Strike Gum, an advertisement. Man, that lasts about 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's really delicious for like a minute. Yeah.
I don't think it's I think it's about 15, 20 seconds, and there it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's really good at first.
Yeah. I think that the evil empress, what's her name, is pretty.
Yeah.
Very nice.
They try,
except for the
that weird chin that the Skrulls have. But no, they try to make them not like monstery looking. I mean, well, the Skrull women anyway.
Mm-hmm. But the Skrull are attacking this peaceful planet. And,
needlessly too.
Yeah.
They're not a threat to the Skrulls, but they're just being evil.
Yep.
And the Fantastic Four were trying to defend them, and are.
Yeah, and they escape using Fantastic Four. The invisible powers of Sue gets them out.
Yeah.
They get into this ship that is about to blow up anyway. So,
yeah.
So they make it, and then they're hit by the Fantastic Four's spaceship.
Yeah.
It is controlled by...
Oh, they encounter this weird group of super characters, including Nova and like a bunch of his villains. The Sphinx, Diamond Head, and like 2 or 3 other super villains.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about.
And it's got to be something to do with the then current issue of Nova. Although we will encounter the Sphinx, I think, in next week's in an issue of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Let's see. Another Twinkie alert. Iron Man versus a tank. So
cool.
And Iron Man, of course, doesn't eat any Twinkies.
Yeah.
Badly drawn tank, though. Kind of disappointing.
Oh well.
But that's we see the Fantastic Four being blown up And that's it.
But they probably aren't.
Yeah.
So, one more issue for this episode, and this is something a little different.
Oh, yeah.
From America's Comics Group, another a now defunct publisher, but they operated in the Gold and Silver Age. So it's a Silver Age issue. It's Forbidden Worlds number 123.
Yeah, it's kind of like very Twilight Zone-ish.
Yeah, it's a science fiction anthology book. It's got 3 stories in this issue, and the lead story is The Ghost in the Wooden Indian Plant, written by Greg Olivetti and art by Paul Reinman.
Although I don't think there's such a thing as a wooden Indian plant. I think they're just all handmade.
Yeah, but for the sake of this, and also a factory that makes only one thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've worked in factories, and they'll make numerous products.
Right.
You don't do that. But
oh, there's this kid, Joe Pork. No, all right. This rich businessman wants to make money. The wooden Indian plant closed, but he's going to open it up again and offer the workers less pay and longer hours, but they'll be glad to get the job because there's no jobs available.
Right. But then he keeps cutting their pay and extending the hours, and they start to try and unionize.
Yeah.
And there's one of the best lines ever in this. The guy that starts to get things, the union going, Larkin, he wants to organize a strike. He says, "Look, I'm no commie, but," what does he say?
Oh, I don't even...
Hang on. "Oh, you fellas all know me, Joe Larkin. I'm no commie, but a good American like all the rest of you. Bresban's been trying to make slaves of us, and he will unless we strike." So this is totally the 60s. Like, look, I'm no commie or anything,
Right.
but we need to have fair wages and, and decent hours. So the union boss, or the boss of the company, finds a way to silence Larkin by send him down the boiler room, and then it explodes.
Well, he didn't want him to die, but look, it's okay.
Yeah.
He just wanted him to be injured. So Joe comes back as his ghost, and he starts scaring the people and telling people about how to fight for their rights in their sleep, it looks like.
Yeah.
So he brings a couple of monsters from the unknown.
Yeah.
And they're busy. It's a busy season, so they can only get 2. Frankenstein and somebody else. It's kind of interesting that Frankenstein is like the most famous monster of all.
The Frankenstein monster? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting
Yeah.
because it's one book, a couple of really great movies, and
Yeah. Also, this concept of the unknown, which is kind of heaven or kind of the afterlife or whatever, they use this a lot in ACG stories. In another book of theirs, Adventures into the Unknown, they play on this concept quite a bit, and it's different. But anyway, yeah, he borrows these these monsters from the unknown to come and spook the bad guys briefly.
Yeah, and then he goes to the
plant. Oh, and he possesses all these wooden Indians and scares the crap out of people more.
Mm-hmm, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and so he goes to the big boss and then takes him to hell.
Basically, unless he's going to change his ways.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and he becomes a nice guy after that.
Yeah, he gives people better wages, less hours, and a nice break room.
Life.
Yay! Mm-hmm. It's me, George Bailey. Don't you remember me?
Yeah.
So the next story in this issue, this is really bizarre stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is called The Girl Who Became Queen. I couldn't find any credits, writer or artist-wise, for this story, which is a shame because this is a cool story.
Not bad. I didn't know that they were in the future until much later. Because they had these kings and queens, and they had this son who doesn't want to do anything. And
right.
He wants to play. And
well, it was on this other planet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's on this. I didn't know.
Okay.
It looked like medieval times, but it's actually in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's Prince Jansen. There's Alice, who wants to be a movie star. And she works hard. She becomes a movie star, but she's got heart problems.
Yeah, but she's on Earth, and this other guy's from this other planet.
Yeah, and
he and his people leave their planet.
Extron is the planet.
Extron. They leave the planet Extron because it's doomed. Extron is doomed.
By a comet.
Yeah.
And of course, you can look into the telescope. Oh, it's coming straight at us. Which, if a comet was coming straight at you, you wouldn't really know it, and you would have to do a lot of
research and
figuring
stuff.
and all that stuff. It's sort of, it's not obvious.
Well, it's a comic book, and it's
Yeah,
yeah.
So
The people of Extron, they have this mass exodus into space, and they all try to seek out a
and
new.
they spread out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like
They
the
all.
Three Stooges.
Yeah, they take all these ships and they all spread out, try to find an inhabitable world. And now the king, who doesn't really want to be king, he just goes to Earth and tries to seek anonymity. And he meets the chick who is.
Yeah, he saves her life, and she's found out that she's about to die. And
And then his people show up.
calling him, "Hey, Your Majesty."
It looks like our planet was fine after all. The comet went by. We can all go home. And the chick goes with him, and they save her with their super science.
Yeah. Awful ships.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. I enjoyed the story.
Yeah.
What is this Herbie thing?
Okay, there's a one-page house ad for Herbie, and he's like a fat kid with glasses and a lollipop, and he was like a pretty popular book that ACG had. It's just a humor book. Herbie, the Fat Fury, he has just these adventures, and he's just like a doughy,
Super nerdy boy,
Yeah.
and
I think it's supposed to be kind of ironic because it's somebody that you wouldn't, think of as a hero, and then he's just the hero of all these stories, I guess.
crooks hate him, creeps despise him, spies can't stand the sight of him. Oh.
Yeah, and I bopped him with my lollipop. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's kind of the whole schmear with Herbie. I really would like to sit down and read some Herbie comics because there's definitely a cult
Mhm.
status to Herbie, but
I've seen it done after that.
he's been revived.
Dan Close does it.
Dan Close does do a Herbie. You're right. I think Herbie may be in the public domain, so his stuff is out there to be reprinted.
Mhm.
In fact, I think a lot of ACG's material is public domain.
Well,
I think all of it is,
yeah,
actually.
and you can see why.
A lot of it's not very good.
The most wonderful witch in the world.
Yes, that's our next story. The most wonderful witch in the world.
Town needs a witch. I didn't really understand why they need a witch.
He wanted to back up a second. Let me give the credits. It's written by Richard Hughes, art by Sam Citron and Tom Hickey. But it's in the days of the Salem witch trials, and I think this town friar or judge or whatever, he's like, hey, they're having witch burnings in Salem, and that's bringing notoriety to them or something. So we
Yeah.
need to seek out a witch too. I think that's the stupid plot.
Yeah, and they find this really pretty girl who does.
And she does magic and witchcraft, but she's using it for good. She's helping people, healing sick people.
And she, and she's put on trial, and she says, yes, of course I'm a witch. And she gets killed.
Do they drown her or
but
burn
this
her?
guy tries to save her.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say. I think they
Okay.
burn her.
Okay.
No, on the gibbet, she's hanged.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, they didn't hang you on a gibbet. You were hung from the gallows. A gibbet is where you displayed an executed corpse.
Okay.
So this is incorrect.
And I was mispronouncing it.
Well, it's okay.
Oh, you say that a lot. It's important, man.
Well, I mean-
So her defender goes back to England and is attacked by pirates and helped by the witch and her cat.
Yeah, he's on a pirate ship, and the witch and her familiar, the witch's ghost and her familiar, fight the pirates and save the guy.
Yeah, and that's the story. And
Yeah,
it's
kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder some people, there are good comics and there are bad comics, and this is bad comics,
Yeah.
but it has a certain charm to it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to read that.
I am too.
And
I've never really. I hated reading this, and
Yeah.
I've never done that with any of the stuff you've got.
But if you ever read a stupid comic, you're like, man, it's good to read that and to read good comics. It makes good comics better, and then to know that there's a variation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
you
not
know
all
when
very.
good comic- When my wife and I was looking for a house, we went to hundreds of open houses looking
Oh.
at houses. It was awful and boring, but when we found the right house, we knew it because we knew houses inside out. And that's the same way with comics. The more you look at them, the more you know them.
Well, right. And here's the thing: if all of our stuff was pretty great, if we didn't have any bad stories, it would all just be really flat.
Mm.
There's peaks and valleys with this, and I think that's important to kind of incorporate. Hey, some not so great comics.
let me be controversial.
Okay.
I think that the Salem witch trials was the most overrated American event ever. What, 6 or 7 people got executed. I mean, it's a bad thing, but it's not like it's Auschwitz. And
Well, right, and
and
even the Spanish Inquisition, it wasn't that many people.
Yeah.
But the
And-
Inquisition, but there were multiple Inquisitions. People just go to that one.
I suppose the Spanish Inquisition was nicer than most. It just sounds
As nice as an Inquisition can be.
Right.
They're still pulling out your toenails, but
It's yeah. I don't know.
it's low body counts.
I mean,
people really remember these specifically for some reason.
I
But
guess it's a nice story. I mean, it's a tragedy and it's important, but not as important as people say it is.
all right, I mean, there are certainly more high-profile massacres of people. I mean, the Belgian Congo in the 1800s was a horrible
King
million.
Leopold's Ghost is a wonderful book on that. And we've all seen Apocalypse Now, and that's based on Heart of Darkness, which was based on the Belgian Congo.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, millions of natives. I mean, this is comparable to the Holocaust, and it's never talked about. Or the Amerindians that were killed by not Columbus, but the people that went with him in the East Indies or whatever, just horribly massacring these people. Mutilating them, just doing awful things.
Yeah. I read Beau Geste, which was
Made into a movie. I know
made into a
that.
bunch of movies.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, in the movies they show how bad the captain is, how evil he is.
Okay.
In the book, all they did to tell you he was evil was that he worked in the Belgian Congo. That's it.
And you knew
he was evil. And I thought that was really interesting. The reason we don't hear about the Belgian Congo that much is it ended about 3 or 4 years before World War I. Germany went into Belgium, and we needed Belgium as a ally, so it was all pushed under the rug.
Yeah.
People forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Belgian
that's-
Congo. Their what is it? Lack of concern for human rights is also the reason Jonas Salk was even in the 20th century able to go and experiment on people for the polio vaccine, which, as a byproduct of his experiments, we got AIDS.
Are you serious?
I am totally serious.
Wow.
Which
I've
is
not
a
heard that.
story for another
Right.
thing. It'll just go. I'll just go on, but it's true.
Yeah, we had, this was a good episode. I think there was a lot of good. Fantastic Four was wonderful. Some of the Batmans were interesting. Some were less so, but
Yeah.
they're all interesting. But
Yeah.
some were better than others.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll be
That's
wrapping up our Batman period, and I think one more week, moving away from Fantastic Four into some other things as well, like the Hulk.
okay. Cool.
Yeah. So, but anyway, this has been Comic Reflections. Thanks for listening.